Really? We're starting my first podcast. Imagine walking away from a job that you prayed for. Well, I had to do it. I had to pivot because it was a life and death decision. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, if I stayed in the job that I was in, I could feel myself letting go, as far as letting go of my life and giving it over to somebody else. And I wasn't willing to do that. First of all, let me tell you why I wanted to tell this story. So many people watched over the 20 to 25 years that I was on local TV news. I had dreamed of that job, that position at that station since I was a little girl sitting crisscross applesauce in front of my parents' TV watching the news with them, because the news used to be an event. It used to be a place where time stood still. Everybody gathered in front of the TV to find out what was going on in their world and in the entire world. So we were captivated by it. We were in, as the young people say now, in a chokehold when the local news anchor came on and started talking to us. And we hung on their every word. So here I am at the station that I grew up watching, and I thought, I've made it. This is what success looks like. My parents are able to see me. My grandparents are able to see me. My kids go to school and everybody says, is that your mom on TV? So I thought that was it. The money was pretty good. I was getting invited to everything. So what happened between then and 5 years ago when I decided to walk away? Well, it was great until it wasn't. First of all, let me tell you this. A job is a job. Just like you have a job and you have to clock in and you have to be there at a certain time and you leave at a certain time and you have certain things that you have to get done before you leave. TV news is the same way. It was nothing different than it was my job. And it became more of a job toward the end. Let me set the stage for you. COVID is going on. I mean, it is in the height of COVID. This was back in 2021. I had thought about this for a little while before, but this is where it came to a head. COVID is going on. Trump is in office. Black Lives Matter is everywhere. George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery was killed in his neighborhood. And I tell you why I wanted to mention Ahmaud is because as I'm reading that story on the teleprompter one morning, tears welled up in my eyes. Mind you, I've been doing this for years. I started reading news articles on my local radio station when I was 17 years old. I was still in high school. So I had been reading sad stories, obituaries, things like that for many, many years. I remember having to read the story when Princess Diana died or JFK died in the plane crash. All of this, 9/11, I was doing those stories. Never had it affected me this way. So I'm reading this story about Ahmaud Arbery, which is a young man over in Georgia who was jogging through his neighborhood, and a black man and a white man and his son gunned him down in his neighborhood, and all he was doing was running. So as I'm reading that from the teleprompter, with all those other things that I listed out, COVID raging, all the things, in my eyes, tears welled up. I'm thinking to myself as I'm reading the teleprompter, please, God, don't let these tears roll down my face. That is unprofessional. I'm not supposed to have an idea or a thought about these things. I'm a news reader. I'm supposed to be reading this teleprompter, telling people this story, and that's it. But those tears were right there. I got through it. We went to commercial, and that's when they fell down my face. Keep in mind, I go home that day still thinking, I can do this. It's fine. My co-anchor is at his house broadcasting from home because we're swapping out. We're not supposed to be within 6 feet of each other. So he's home broadcasting at that time, and I'm in the studio. Then I'm at home and he's in the studio. Okay, set the scene there. I have cameras, I have lights, I have an antenna in my kitchen so that they could broadcast from my apartment in the living room. So a camera person, a photographer, had to come to my home every morning, because I did morning news, at about 4 o'clock in the morning. Mind you, very nice man, but would not be in my home. I had never invited him and probably never would have invited him to my home for any reason, but he had to come in my room. Y'all was burning sage and praying and, just hoping that he didn't bring some kind of sickness in there. It was crazy. It was crazy. And so one day I finally decided this is it. And it was like an epiphany. Like I sat up in the bed and as plain as day, I could hear God say to me, this is the day. Do it. Go ahead and do it. Because if you keep waiting, it's going to be another 2 or 3 years before you do this. Or worse still, they could do it for you. They could get rid of you because you're over 50 at this point. You're a Black woman at this point. It's not looking too good for Black women in journalism at that time. And since then, I mean, look at how many Black women have been fired from their job or left their job or found other opportunities. Hundreds of thousands of us had to pivot. So I said, this is the day. And I went in and told my news director that it was time. And he looked at me, his eyes got really, really big because there had been some issues before then. I felt like I was in a toxic work environment. I won't go into any detail about that, but I'll just say I was not enjoying my job as much as I had in years past. It was not there. It just wasn't there. And I figured if I'm going to leave at 50, 51 years old at that time, this is the time to go. So I put in my 2 weeks and that was that. Fast forward to the last day, 2 weeks from then, which was May 4th, 2021. Y'all, the send-off they gave me was abhorrent. I mean, seriously, I don't think I've ever said this to anybody, but maybe it had to do with COVID and all the people weren't there. And usually when we had a going away, it was a big to-do. And, you had the cakes and the balloons and the fanfare. Honey, it was a blip. It was a blip. And I thought, I've been here almost 20 years and this is the thanks I get. I made the absolute right decision. And I'm telling you this because it'll be the same way when you leave your job. Even if they throw a big party and it's a lot of fanfare, it'll be on to the next person. It was a come to Jesus kind of moment for me, though, because I thought I was special. I was her. I was morning TV. I was the River Region, the queen of the River Region of information. And yeah, didn't matter. I got a little proposition from the governor, one from the mayor, and I hadn't heard from him since. It was just a wake up call, a reality check for me. So that had to be put on the back burner of my life. Of course, I still have people that come up to me to this day and probably will forever because I would be the same way about people that I watched growing up if I saw them somewhere. But that was a learning curve for me because I made that decision. It was kind of rash. I just said, I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I did it. I really did not have a plan of what I was going to do next. I just knew I didn't want to do that anymore. So I had to pivot. But in my pivoting, I wanted to slow down on that part. So what I did was I started to travel. And one of the first things I did, one of the first places I went to, which keep in mind now, COVID is still out there. It's like people are still wearing masks and all the things. So I get on my first trip after I left. My first trip after I left TV news was to Rio de Janeiro. So I get on this long flight alone. I actually love to travel alone, but that's another conversation for another day. But I go down to Rio alone because once when I was six or seven, I don't know, but I was young, first, second grade, and I loved a show called Sesame Street, and I wouldn't miss it. Like, literally wouldn't miss it. If I was in the middle of a basketball game or a football game, or I was out playing with my friends in the mud or whatever, and my mom said Sesame Street was on, it's like, I'm out. Like, I'm going to watch this. But anyway, on one of the episodes, they had Rio de Janeiro was being featured. And they showed the statue, Christ the Redeemer. You guys know this statue, right? It's like he's holding his arms out like this, and it's like this giant statue. And at 6 or 7, you can imagine it was even bigger, larger than life is what I expected. So I was going to see this. I was going to keep a promise to my little 6 or 7-year-old self that one day I'm going to see that in person. So here I am on this flight. I've booked some things, some trips, excursions around the city, and that was one of them. On the way to it, I could see it in the distance, and I start crying. Now, I've mentioned I've cried a couple of times, and I never thought of myself as much of a crier, but as I'm telling these stories, I see I'm kind of a crybaby, but that's okay. Anyway, so I'm riding in the Uber, Lyft, whatever, and I see it in the distance, and I start crying. And I remember the Uber driver asking me if I was okay, and I told him this story about being the little girl who wanted to see this statue. And he kind of, as he's getting closer, he says, "Can you see it? There it is." Because he was like, "That's so sweet that you wanted to see this. And I want to make sure you get a good view of it. You know, if you want to get a picture or something like that." So anyway, I'm at the feet of the statue. So I'm coming up behind it. An escalator takes you up. Then you walk a few feet, and then you get on another escalator, and it takes you right to the front of it. There are probably 150, 200 people there, and it's usually thousands. It's usually thousands of people, but because of COVID, it wasn't that many people. And most of the people who were there were celebrating. They were getting married there, or celebrating their birthday or anniversary, something like that. But I was celebrating my freedom. I was free of that job. And when I got there, it kind of hit me. I really didn't think about that as my emancipation, as me freeing myself up to do what God really and truly had for me. Because what I thought was my dream job was not my dream job. And when you realize that, it's like, is it your dream relationship or your dream job or your dream, whatever your dream might have been for yourself or for your children. You might have dreamed of certain things for your children or your grandchildren, and that doesn't happen, and you feel so disappointed. But you have to realize it's probably a reason for that. And you're going to find that real dream, the real thing that makes you happy, a real person that makes you happy. So as I got to the foot of that statue, the tears just poured and poured and poured. It was the best feeling. It was like, I don't know. It's kind of like when you go for a long walk in the heat of the day and you're just sweating and you're just releasing all of that heat. And, you finally get to cool off. You finally get to take a breath. You finally get to feel free. And that's how I felt. So I knew at that moment, if I didn't know before then, which I felt it before then, but I felt it. It was so intense at that moment. It was an intense feeling of, you did the right thing for you. Yeah, there are going to be people who said, "Oh, she just got fired," or "She was too fat," or "She was whatever." But I knew that I left on my own terms and that I had time to do what really was going to make me happy in this stage of my life. Now that I know better, now that I know myself better. And that began this whole wonderful awakening. I don't know if you guys remember this movie called Awakening. It had Robin Williams and Robert De Niro. And it was about a man who had some kind of disease that kind of kept him in a box. He couldn't speak. And he had tremors and things like that. And they thought they found a drug to awaken him out of that. So he could speak and he could be in love, fall in love, and he could do all the things. But it felt like that, like I had been trapped in a news anchor's life. And now I didn't have to do that. I could editorialize if I wanted to. I could tell people what I thought about a story. I could do a podcast. I could travel. I could do whatever I want. And maybe I could have done that while I was in that job, but it didn't feel like I could. It felt like I was in corporate media and they had a certain agenda and I didn't gel with it. I didn't jive with it. It didn't fit me anymore. I didn't fit it anymore. So then having that awakening in Rio de Janeiro at the foot of Christ the Redeemer, I'm thinking to myself, girl, what's next? And then just as plain as before, when I told you God spoke to me and said, it's time to quit that job. When I said, what's next? I could hear as plain as day, whatever you want. And this is what I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to do my own thing, my own show. So if I was still doing that job, this likely would have never happened. So I'm so grateful that not only did I quit that job, listen to myself, my body, which was deteriorating too. My body was, I was losing myself. I was losing my health. I was losing my mental. I was not enjoying my life at that time. But now that I'm closer to God, now that I've freed up so much more of my time, now that I understand what makes me happy, not what's supposed to make me happy, but what actually makes me happy, the sky is really the limit. Really, there is no limit. I don't even have to worry about the sky being the limit. It's beyond that. It's beyond. So what I want to do with this podcast is take you along with me on this journey through this part of your life, this section of your life that can be so elevated. It could be so joyful. It can be so affirming. It can make you see that you are everything that you need in your life. You are that. So that's how I feel now. The other stuff is gravy. The other people are icing on the cake. My relationships are icing on the cake. So that's what I look at it as now. Encapsulated right here, I have everything I need. So I want you to feel that way too. I want you to get there too. And I think through these conversations that we're going to have, you're going to see that. You're going to see that there is a whole world out there full of good people and exciting experiences and things that will bring you joy because you will see things in detail. My eyes were glazed over before, and now I just see so clearly. It's kind of like when you go to the optometrist and he's going click, click 1 or click, click 2. So now all the clicks are in place, baby. And I'm seeing 20/20 vision. What is good in my life right now? This part of your life could be the absolute best. There is a celebrity. Her name is Bevy Smith. And she has a saying, it gets greater later. So if you're watching this and you're 40, 45, 50, 60, 70, just know as long as there is air in your lungs, your heart is still beating, you're able to see me and hear me, those are things to be excited about because you still have time to do whatever you want to do and create whatever life you want to create for yourself. I used to think of being alone as lonely, not the same things at all. I love my alone time. I was out the other day at a work event having lunch, and a friend of mine walked in alone and sat there and had lunch all by herself with her little book open. And she was just taking a little nibble every now and then. It was adorable. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Spend time with yourself, doing what you want to do whenever you want to do it. This is the time in your life you could be doing that. Retirement or a new relationship or a vacation, a hobby. I mean, my house is full of plants now. I always thought, I don't have a green thumb. I can't do this. And I just got one plant and another one and another one. All this happened after I left that job, folks. I didn't have one plant in my home, not one. And now I'm trying to fill this place up with life. That's life. And it's fantastic. And it's for the living. Life is for the living. So let's do it. Okay, let's do it. But if I had to encapsulate why I left that job, it was time. It was time for me to leave. And sometimes you have to just Suck it up, buttercup, and let's go. Let's do this. Yes, it's scary. Even now, I'm thinking they might not like this podcast. Nobody might watch it. But so what? Put it out there. Do it. Play pickleball. Go roller skating. See if you could do that again. I mean, I used to be the best roller skater. I can't do it anymore, but that's okay. I know I can't do it now because I've tried and I fell a few times. So I'm not going to try that again. But I'm just saying there are things that you might want to do that you've never done before. Try singing at the national anthem at the baseball game. Pick up and do hobby, pottery. I don't know. I joined a church after I left that job. I had been in this town for 25 years and had never joined a church. Had I gone to church? Absolutely. If people invite me or I was speaking there or whatever, I had gone to church lots and lots of times, but I had not joined a church. And guess what? The Sunday before my 54th birthday, I got baptized again. And when he dipped me in that water, I don't even remember. I got it done. I was baptized when I was like 11 or 12. I was baptized before as a teenager, a preteen, but I do not remember it. I do not remember. My sister said she remembers it because she was so scared when he dipped her in the water and all that stuff. I don't remember that. I remember going to the front of the church and, saying that I believe that Jesus died for our sins and all of that and getting the right hand of fellowship. But I do not remember the baptism part. But I will never forget that second time being dipped in that water. So that's what I'm saying. I didn't see anybody else do that. I just wanted to do that for myself. So there are going to be things that will come to you and you'll say, I want to experience that. I want to see that. I want to do that. And it never occurred to me before I left that job. I wanted to see other things. I wanted to experience other things. I wanted to meet certain people that were idols of mine. And I will never stop wanting to do those things. It seems like at a certain age, we just kind of put a cap on our dreams. Uncap your dreams. Let them out. Do it. No matter how you think people will feel about it. The only thing that really matters is how you feel about it and how it makes you feel. So that's it in a nutshell. Why I left my TV news job after all those years and why I have never looked back and I never will. This is the way to get your information now. This is the way to talk to people now. This is the way to get your message across or whatever you have on your mind. This is it. I can just talk to you. No corporate people looking over my shoulder, second guessing everything that I say and do. This is just me talking to you. And that's the way I want it. Me talking to you. And we're going to have a great time because you can talk back to me too. Just put it in the comments. Just say, for instance, if you are ready to pivot, if something in your life, if you're ready to take that leap, start that business, start exercising more, maybe ask somebody out. Ladies, I mean, it's 2026. If you want to ask somebody out, ask them out, So if you're thinking about doing some things that might scare you, I'm telling you, the best way to get over that fear is just to do it. Just do it. So down in the comments, I want you to put pivot. If you've even thought about this lately, pivoting at this part in your life and you've been scared to do it, just put pivot in the comments. And maybe if you want to tell me what that is, what you want to do, what you've been thinking about doing, or if you have done what I did, walked away from a job or retired recently. And maybe like my friend Serena, you're an expat. She moved to Portugal. She was living in Austin, Texas, quit her job and moved to Portugal. She's learning Portuguese as we speak. She takes those classes so she can learn the language over there. I think that's so awesome. But that's another thing too. Surround yourself with people who aren't scared to live. Surround yourself with people who don't keep telling you what you can't do. Surround yourself with people who are going to encourage you and lift you up. And you do the same for them because we all need people to help us out like that. Sometimes you're going to be the one who is the benefactor, and sometimes it's going to be your friends who need that or your family who needs that. So be that person for somebody, and you'll have that person in your life as well. But sometimes you got to be your own. Sometimes you got to be your own best cheerleader. Sometimes you got to look in the mirror and say, this is my best friend that I'm looking at. And that's okay too. So I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. If you did, please subscribe, like this, share it. Tell your friends about it, and let's have this conversation and build this community together, because there are a lot of us out here, ladies, who are going through some of the same things, some of the same struggles, and we can help each other. Like, I'm going to read every comment. So if you put comments down here and you say, I wonder if she even reads these things. Oh yeah, I'm going to read it, because I get a lot from you as well. I try to put it out there in the world so I can get it back, you know? So let's be reciprocal. You guys give me a little feedback. Let me know what you liked about this conversation and what you like for me to talk about, because that's what this is all about. It's all about me helping myself by helping you, and we can all be in this together. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.
I've never traveled all over